It's just when it seemed Australia Day was finally safe, the haters are at it again. The Australian venue company, the Hong Kong-owned outfit with more than 200 pubs in this country, that had previously publicly stated it would not mark our National Day because it meant different things, it said, to different people, only then to later recant and apologise after your storms of protest, well, they're up to their former tricks. Marketing material at the pubs now refer to the January long weekend rather than Australia Day, something that was put to Opposition Leader Peter Dutton today.
Why somebody who is in the business of trying to provide custom and reaps a huge profit off the back of hardworking Australians, why they would shun the wishes of those Australians, because the vast majority of Australians, particularly patrons going into some of these establishments, want us to celebrate Australia Day, is something that company will have to explain. I just say to patrons who know the pubs that this company owns, I would encourage them to call the company and express their view and express that they don't support this abandonment of our National Day. What other country, what other Western civilisation abandons its National Day? We shouldn't, and Australia Day should be a great celebration of an amazing country.
I urge you too to vote with your feet on Australia Day. If you walk into a pub, a club, a restaurant, any sort of venue, and you can't see the Australian flag, walk out. Take your custom where people are celebrating our National Day. But what this pub chain's doing pales into insignificance, with news today of a huge protest planned for Sunday that will unite Melbourne's usual pro-Palestinian renter crowd with a whole new group who are against our National Day, with some 30,000 activists and general ratbags set to disrupt the city. Bearing in mind too that not only is Sunday Australia Day, we all know that, but it's also the final day of the Australian Open, the men's Grand Slam final no less, when Melbourne and brand Australia should be putting its best face forward to the wider world. Now, this has got to stop. Freedom of speech does not mean the freedom to endlessly disrupt other people going about their business. We learned today too that it's Victoria's new First Nations Assembly that's encouraging these protests, something the Premier today was asked about but failed to condemn.
Do you think it's the role of the First Peoples Assembly to be encouraging people to attend these protests?
Look, the First Peoples Assembly are an independent. They're an independent body, and they are an elected body, and they are independent of government. And how they choose to conduct themselves is a matter for them.
Give me a break. I mean, yet again, just like The Voice, they're so out of step with the majority. Latest polling showing that 69% of Australians, with a majority now across every single age group, think that Australia Day should be celebrated on January 26. And we also know that no date will satisfy the haters, because their objection is not to any particular day, but to Australia itself and our largely Anglo-Celtic culture and Judeo-Christian heritage. But no way should we just have to put up with this either.
Disgusting. I think it would be disgusting to target the Australian Open, and that would really break, I think, the patience of the public.
Now, those earlier First Nations comments aside, the Victorian Premier today said what most of us wanted to hear on the issue. But in the end, it's just words, because despite being in charge of the state, she does nothing. It's a classic example of a leader being in office, but not in power. Yeah, that wasn't how Labor treated protests during the pandemic era, was it? If Victoria Police could stop the freedom marches then, they should be more than capable of stopping this disruption on Australia Day. I think the public would cheer to see the police standing up for Australia for once, and not for the small minority who despise the country that's been so good to them. Now, on this, I'll give the last word to one former policeman, who's got no issues defending our National Day or our flag.
One of the things I want our country to have greater pride in is the wonderful migrant story, to tell the stories particularly of people who came here from the end of the Second World War with nothing, and people have worked hard as tilers, as concreters, as farmers, and they've educated their children. They've provided an opportunity that their grandparents could never have imagined, and their children now are contributing in an amazing way to society. Why somebody would be ashamed of that is beyond me.